It's funny because I see people comment, like people who don't like me will comment on Twitter or whatever, and they're like, never taken anything to trial. First of all, not true. Never taken anything to jury trial. But some of the areas you practice law don't have jury trials, and I have done multiple trials in the family and custody area of law. And
in my work, I do not want to get to a jury trial. I want to avoid a jury at all costs.
But it's fun because they're like, oh, you've never been to trials. Like, no, I've been to trial, just not jury trial. And all of those, I won every single one of them. And then I've argued several motion hearings in court. Most of my cases get dismissed out or settled because that's what most cases do. You don't want to be at jury a lot, or you don't want to be at trial at all a lot of times, because now you're fucking with chance rather than guaranteed outcomes. But that being said, I love arguing all those things. I hate drafting the motions. I hate filing the bullshit that goes with it. I hate dealing with fucking discovery demands and discovery deadlines and initial disclosures and all of the rules that you have. All of this shit takes hours and hours of time and just drains defendants' money for no reason. So
it's no fun. It's no fun. The stuff we like is the fun stuff.
I had a client who was a tenant in a landlord situation where they were a tenant in one room in the landlord's personal home, and the landlord wanted to evict them, but Minnesota's borderline communist, and so it's hard to evict people. So they concocted a story to try and justify a restraining order so they could have an effective eviction without evicting, because Minnesota eviction laws suck. You don't want to comply with them. They're horrible as a landlord, flat out. Having represented both sides, I would much rather represent a tenant. In this case, they had that, and then my client had unrelated old warrants, and they conducted a scheme to get my client arrested on an old warrant while serving the restraining order, so that my client, who would be arrested in a different county than the warrant was in, transferred to another county, would not see the restraining order in the time it would take for us to respond to get an immediate hearing. In Minnesota, if you have a restraining order, an ex parte request, the restrainee has 5 days to petition for a hearing. If you don't petition within 5 days, then you have to motion to vacate the order, and it takes 30 days. Well, my client was incarcerated, and they didn't give my client the actual restraining order.
This is why people hate lawyers.
Yeah, they said they served it. They said they served it on my client, which was kind of true. My client was being arrested. They showed them the document. They said, okay. They didn't get to read it, and they put it in the bag with their like underwear and filed it away. When my client was released from the arrest, which, by the way, my client was not charged with any of that. When my client was released from the arrest, we motioned to vacate because that was the first time they had seen the letter. And I went in there and we fucking destroyed them in court. It was so great. Not only did we win that, we actually won my client money, and we won the right to enter the property and retrieve everything my client owned with a police escort, and the other people being restricted from being in the property at the time. Like we had a total fucking victory. We just had to get in front of the goddamn judge. But that's the shit. Like, that's the most fun stuff on the planet, was when my client, who's a literal like animal care person, like their profession was caring for animals, they had a fake story that my client kicked their dog, and then they tried to get someone to lie on their behalf, and I had them on cross-examine. I'm like, so you saw them kick the dog? And they're like, well, I didn't see it. I'm like, how could you not see them kick the dog? You're looking right at them. And they're like, well, I mean, and it was like, they didn't kick the dog, did they? Well, I mean, they motioned towards the dog. They motioned towards the dog, or they kicked the fucking dog. Did the dog yelp? Tell me what happened. And like, you just see them, like, because they're so uncomfortable lying. Like, they were going to do it for their friend, but they just couldn't do it under oath in front of a judge. And they got fucked. Like, those people got destroyed. It was great. God, that's the fun stuff of law. But most of the time, you're not doing that. You're doing bullshit.